Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the Golden Era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to pay tribute to one of the greatest alpha males in history, Steve Reeves. After reading the first edition of Building the Classic Physique, The Natural Way, written by Steve Reeves, I realized just what a dominant masculine figure Reeves truly was, and not just in terms of his physique or his screen presence, but in terms of his personality. The man oozed masculinity, and it is obvious when you read the end of the appendix 6, it's at the end of the book, titled What the Press Said About Steve Reeves. I want to read today a few quotes from this section and show you the other side of Reeves. He was truly a man's man, a leader. He was a man who other guys looked up to for motivation, and the man who women would drop to their feet over. They would flock the man and drool all over him, time and time again. Now, being the iconic silver era bodybuilder that he was, he served as a real idol to many youth. And for example, here's a great quote explaining this. Steve Reeves is the idol of almost every kid that takes up bodybuilding. In fact, he is the reason they take it up. And you can see these kids just staring at Reeves. He looks fantastic there as he's doing these tricep extensions. They're just like in awe of Reeves, and wouldn't you be in his presence? Now, when Reeves hit the screen, he became an overnight sensation, an instant star. And here's a great quote which describes the adoration of the people, especially in Italy, where he became a national hero. The adoration of the male physique that characterized the grandeur of Greece and Rome is being rekindled in modern Italy by one lone American, Steve Reeves, Mr. America, Mr. World, Mr. Universe. Or as we frequently call him, Mr. Everything, has become a national hero. Now, although Reeves was adored and reached the pinnacle of stardom in the late 50s, he was a true gentleman, and here is a great quote about how he interacted with his fans. On the infrequent days when he is not working, Steve Reeves leaves his apartment in the American Palace Hotel at noon and shoulders his way through a horde of youthful admirers. He goes directly to Donny's on the Via Veneto, there to sit at a sidewalk table until dinner time, drinking orange juice and signing autographs for the unending line of respectful fans who have anticipated his appearance. Many of the teenage boys have copied Steve Reeves' beard, and all of them refer to him affectionately as Hercules. After winning every top honor in bodybuilding and becoming an international superstar, the last thing that was on Steve Reeves' mind was marriage, as suggested in this interview, which I'll now read out. Reeves answers a question on romance in an interview, and he says, "I have no special romances," said the handsome hero, "just the usual dates. I don't want to get married for at least 2 years. I'm so grateful for the way my pictures are going. I want to pursue my career further and give it every chance to build up before I get married." So here we have a very typical alpha male trait of Reeves. He realizes his greatness, his great potential at becoming even greater, and he puts romance aside and of course just, plays his game. So good on you, Reeves. At Steve's absolute height of movie stardom, the man was completely flocked by women to the point where it actually annoyed him. And I want to read a quote which clearly describes this. "As handsome a hunk of a man as ever adorned a beach or elsewhere is Steve Reeves. Steve is patient with autograph seekers, but he gets a little annoyed at women who reach out to feel his biceps. It gets pretty tiresome," he says. "They don't even ask my permission. Worst of all," he says, "is the funny look some women get in their eyes. I don't quite know what they're thinking." "Don't worry about it, Stevie boy. Just take good care of those muscles and hurry home," says May Okun in 1960. I mean, can you imagine these women just drooling over Steve? And you can see one right here. I mean, look at her. She's just ready to pounce on Steve as she feels his bicep. It's hilarious. Now, it is said that when there were movie premieres of Hercules, there was absolute pandemonium. And I want to read a quote describing this insane, chaotic affair. One by one, big limousines pulled up in front of Milari's plush Theatre Rodolfo for the world premiere of the widely ballyhooed movie Hercules Unchained. Lining both sides of the theatre, a crowd of women was held in check by 2 rows of carabinieri. These are policemen in Italy. When a big Mercedes pulled up and a brawny, broad-shouldered, bearded male stepped out, a full-throttled roar rose from the crowd. I mean, the man even owned a Mercedes back then, damn. The carabinieri braced themselves against the wave of screaming, hysterical women. Then the surging women broke their ranks and swarmed over their hero in an orgy of adulation. Before the carabinieri could reform into a flying wedge that bulldozed through the crowd, Steve Reeves' jacket and shirt were ripped off his back, and his naked arms and shoulders were covered with tiny scarlet imprints of no less than 75 amorous lips. I mean, the man was absolutely swarmed with women. If Steve Reeves isn't the biggest thing in show business, he certainly is the hottest. It's the girls, says one prominent Hollywood producer. They're wild about him. He has become a universal sex symbol, a kind of male Marilyn Monroe. It figures, says showman Levine. They scour the world for girls with gorgeous bodies, and men love them. What about the girls? Why not give them something? Especially since women outnumber men and make up the bulk of the movie-going public. Levine's shrewd hunch paid off handsomely. Today, a battery of 20 secretaries barely keeps up with the avalanche of 5,000 letters a day Steve Reeves gets from amorous fans. Many of them are headily uninhibited and cannot be reprinted in a magazine. Can you imagine what they must be writing and even sending? Probably photos as well. Many of his fans are older, married women who see in the heavily muscled Reeves a personification of virile masculinity. Psychiatrists view his popularity as an expression of women's deep-seated yearning to be dominated. It is basically a healthy expression, says one prominent psychiatrist. Women are getting tired of dominating men. They want to be feminine, to express their basic natures. When they see Reeves, they imagine themselves succumbing to this lordly male. For whatever reasons, the girls flock to his movies. Record crowds greet his epics all over America. One manager complained that he had to change his lobby display featuring a life-size cutout of Steve Reeves 3 times a day. Every couple of hours, he said, the picture would be unrecognizable, completely covered with lipstick prints, and I mean completely covered. Reeves is probably the only matinee idol in history whose torso is better known than his face. Recently, he spent an afternoon at an Italian Riviera resort town. Fully clothed, he strolled about the town undisturbed. Then he stripped to go for a swim. As soon as he appeared in his bathing trunks, he was spotted. A mob of women took after him, and Steve had to sprint to the local jailhouse for safety. Can you imagine this? Now Hollywood bigwigs are wondering whether this popularity is just a fluke, a passing fad maybe. He'll last as long as women like real he-men, says one knowing Hollywood agent, and I don't see that changing for a long time. I mean, just check this photo out. Reeves, I mean, he's not even impressed anymore in this photo. He's sitting there cross-legged with his watch, and look at his eyebrows. He's like, huh, this is just like this happens every single day. I'm just mobbed by women. There's women all around the man, and he's probably sitting at one of his movie premieres, and he looks just sick and tired of the whole thing. He's just mobbed day in and day out by women. Now, the man truly realized his worth, especially to women, and capitalized on the situation is clearly described in this quote. Men, how would you like to date every beautiful eyeful you set your eyes on? Note, I said, wool. Well, all you need is a physique bulging with muscles and, oh, yes, a name. Something like Steve Reeves. Because that's the 7-year record of the husky guy who catapulted to fame as Mr. Hercules himself. Steve has been seen with just about every beautiful face and figure in Europe. and romantically linked with most of them. Ever since he migrated to Italy, he has been having the time of his life, and didn't he? I mean, he must have, he must have had relationships by the dozen. The man was so well known, he must have had his pick of women in Europe. Truly the alpha male having his pick. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on Steve Reeves and how truly a masculine figure he was back in the late 50s and 60s. I hope you've enjoyed these quotes, which you'll find in the book Building the Classic Physique, the Natural Way, written by Reeves himself. And yeah, I as I read through this Appendix 6, was truly in a shock as to the absolute chaos that surrounded Reeves, the hysterical women that just flocked and drooled over the man. Truly an alpha male, truly a dominant male figure back then. So again, hope you've enjoyed watching the video and that you've had a good laugh. If you haven't enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm. Leave me your comments and thank you for watching. You can always support my work if you like through PayPal or by becoming a patron. And you can always find books and courses on the golden, silver and bronze era of bodybuilding on my website www.goldenerabookworm.com. Once again, hope you enjoyed the video on the ultimate alpha male, Steve Reeves. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now. Now, if you're interested in building a physique like Steve Reeves, then you can visit my website www.goldenerabookworm.com, where I've got 2 booklets written by yours truly, How I Develop Broad Shoulders and How I Develop My Waist by Steve Reeves.
Hi everybody, I just want to recommend this phenomenal book, Vince's Secret Locker, volume number 2 by Carl Coyne. I've been looking at this for about 4 weeks and I can't put it down. If you get a chance, check it out. He also has a part 1 that I highly recommend also. Vince was the trainer of the Stars and had an amazing, interesting gym that today there's still not equipment like it around. It was all made out of wood. He'll be on our radio show coming up probably in the next couple weeks or so. Have a great day, and again, highly recommend this book.